As
Welcome to the Profit Desk. It's your boy Dex,
and I'm Daniel.
and we're back for another episode. We got a special guest with us today,
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, aka Credit Union Captain. Brian
Yes,
Fuller
sir.
is back for another episode of the Profit Desk. We're gonna do
Welcome
a
back
credit
to
Q and A today, man. Part 2 of the credit Q and A.
Part
Welcome
two,
back, man.
part two. Appreciate you guys having me back on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully the
Yeah,
last
man.
time people got some good value. Definitely want to give some more value today if possible. So any questions that you guys may have gotten between, now and then, let's start with those and then we can go from there.
man.
All right.
Before we get started, you gotta back up a little bit so we can get the fourth character in the frame.
Oh, my
Yeah.
bad.
See if you
My
can
bad.
slide your laptop back a little bit.
The
There we go.
wig. Yeah, man. We need that whole wig, bro. We need the whole thing.
Yes, sir. I dropped 60 points the other day. My man, I hustle 247 was in the building.
Man, listen, that game was depressing. To see the Nets drop 86 in the first half,
Yeah.
well, we couldn't get to the parking lot fast enough.
And then the
We
and
could not
then
get to the parking lot fast enough.
the the arena was chanting Kyrie on top of that.
Yeah, that was real disrespectful. Real disrespectful. And as what do we call it? An Orlandian, whatever we called here in Orlando.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed. I felt disrespected. I just it was just there's no way this shouldn't happen. Dylan got this seem like yeah, man. He coming here playing around. Uh,
Hey.
so first, you know how I go, guys. But first, we're gonna tackle some news. Oh, there you go. First, we're gonna tackle some news. Uh, the first thing we'll tackle is this Wells Fargo situation. Pretty sure you guys have heard about it. Wells Fargo denied more than 50% of its black applicants. See, they almost got me caught up in their stuff, man. I almost called them black Africans. See, they almost got me. They almost got me, but they denied more than 50% of their black applicants, while approving nearly 75% of their Caucasian counterparts. There's currently a class action lawsuit being formed against Wells Fargo. However, this isn't the first time we've had
Right.
situations like this from Wells Fargo.
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember back in 2020, there was a young man who actually won. He didn't file a class action suit, but he won a personal lawsuit of discrimination against Wells Fargo, for them not wanting to, for them racially discriminate against him. Right. So he wins the lawsuit. Right. Gets a check from the lawsuit and goes over to Bank of America to cash it. And then he gets the police called on him because the Bank of America thinks it's a fake check. So he then sues Bank of America for discrimination as well. But and that was a couple years ago. That was in 2020, not even a full 2 years ago. So we don't. Let me see. There we go. Okay, thanks, Daniel. So we don't necessarily this isn't necessarily anything new with Wells Fargo. I mean, it is what it is. You guys got any comments on that?
No, Same old stuff, different year.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I would tell you, I won't tell you that I won't come out and say, yeah, Wells Fargo's racist. I haven't seen the back end. I don't know what's going on. I see the results. I don't like the results, but I can't and I won't come out and say that they're a racist organization. But what I will say is, how about you just not bank there? How about we just kill all the nonsense and you just not bank there? Um, I think credit union captain would tell you that you really should be utilizing your credit unions as opposed to major financial institutions anyway.
Right.
Um, but you should be building should have a bank that you have a relationship with. You shouldn't just be going out and applying for mortgages for a bank just because they're you know a familiar face.
Right.
Dylan says, Wells Fargo won't give me a credit card, even though I never had a late payment to them. They are racist. Maybe they just suck, Dylan.
Yeah.
That's why I said, man, I wouldn't necessarily call them racist, man, because I don't know what's happening on the back end. I don't jive with the results. I know for a long time I used to date a young lady that worked for Wells Fargo, and she would come home and tell me about all the fake accounts that she created that day, just to meet quota. So I knew they were doing that's why I never had a bank account with them. So because I knew they were doing cricket stuff to begin with.
Right.
The young lady I was dating had kids. All the kids had accounts. Like they had new accounts like every other month. But it was just how they, and we all remember when that big lawsuit came out, right? When that leaked. So I don't know what's going on the back end. I don't know what's up with underwriting, but I will say that if you don't like what you're seeing, just find another bank, or better yet, find a credit union that suits you. Any other comments on that, guys?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn, right? Because I see both sides. I can see where there's outrage. I can see where people are upset. But if we come back to the root of the problem is still illegal. So a denial is illegal, right? You can't be denied where your social security number is involved.
Right.
So if that's the case, us calling them racist, that's fine. We can call them that, and we can use that to our advantage. But we also need to learn how we play into the food chain. Without us, they don't exist. It's not like Wells Fargo is a deity and we just beholden to them. Like no. If we all decided tomorrow that we're not Bank of America or Wells Fargo, it's over for them. It's a wrap. They're done. They need social security numbers to exist, especially now when you got people like Saudi Arabia pulling out of the U.S. dollar and now converting all of their assets to Japanese or the Chinese yen. You talking about
Yeah.
the banks are in trouble, like
Right.
on multiple levels, multiple fronts. So the entire ideal behind the lawsuit, the class action, I get it. If you're it sounds terrible if I say it this way, but if you're an ignorant consumer, you're excited about the lawsuit, the class action. But I would be upset if I was included in the lawsuit. I'd be upset. Please deny me, please, because I know for a fact, because of the laws that are provided within the Truth in Lending Act, if you deny me on anything that pertains to my social and I miss out on opportunity, you now owe me twice of whatever that asset was. So let's say I had you run a property for me for 400 grand, a duplex. If they denied me access to the funding I needed to grab that duplex and I lost the duplex, they now owe me 800 grand in cash, period. There is no exception. There is no alternate method. There is no racism involved. I can add racism to it, of course, but that's a fact within Truth in Lending Act that if anything that involves your social to which you receive no benefit and they use your social during that transaction progress, you win automatically. We can pull that up and put it on the screen if you want to, but that is a fact. So who's really winning in this lawsuit? Somebody who's
Right.
getting a class action $30 check, or somebody who is getting the amount they needed for one house that they didn't get, and then got on top of that double it because of what the violations are in the Truth in Lending Act.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So, like, for me, I'm a little bit torn on it. I want to see the benefit for the people who are denied. The benefit for people who are denied is not a $30 check. That's not a benefit. They still going to apply and get denied somewhere else, more than likely, if we're being honest with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh, just because you were banking with Wells Fargo and you go to Navy Federal Credit Union, you're going to get automatically approved just because it's a different institution. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
You got to know your rights. You got to know who to put on notice.
Well, since we're on the topic of mortgages, interest rates have gone up. They went up today, as a matter of fact. So, Daniel, do you have the new interest rate? Do you know what it is? It's 4 point something.
Tell Dylan he can just request them to send another letter. Or I guess I can tell him. Dylan, just have them send you another letter, brother.
Yeah, just have them send you another one. Because they have to keep record of all the communication between you and them. And if they don't, that's another violation. So just have them send you the letter. Have them send you an audit of all the communication between you and them.
15 USC 1692C, communication as defined by the FDCPA.
Yeah. So just you can specifically request that. Just ask for an audit trail, and they got to send it all to you.
Failure to do so results in a check for you.
Let's see. What is the new mortgage rate, man? Mortgage went up today. All right, new mortgage rate is 4.84%. Yowza. And that's a 30-year, obviously. If you are doing a 15-year, you might get a little bit of grace. It's 3.9%. Surprisingly enough, though, if you're doing a 10-year, now you want to take a guess at what the interest rate is for a 10-year?
6%.
No, it's not that high. We people would riot in the streets if it was that high. No, it's 5.06% for a 10-year. So they're testing that barrier, man. Testing that can we go above 5 without blood in the streets? I mean, granted, we've been there before, right? We've been there plenty before, but not in a while. I can't remember when was the last time we were that high. Do you remember? Over 5 in that 5.6, 5.8 area.
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah. So that's really all we have in news for today, guys. Everything is kind of, we don't want to talk about gas prices again. Let's just not have that conversation. Everything is kind of news wise is kind of being put on hold because of the situation between Russia and Ukraine, including what is it? See, I don't even remember COVID. I don't even remember what it is.
It's a new
There you
variant.
go.
Talking about.
There's a new variant.
Yeah, they're talking about something else, trying to convince people to be scared again.
Well,
I know they were out. I know they were reporting some huge outbreak in China.
It's always in China, and they started. They the ones wearing the mask to begin with. How did the break start there? But they always wearing the mask.
I don't know, man. I'm not a what do they call it? A pathologist. So I have no idea, but I do know that there tends to be the majority of the lethal diseases that we get come from when there is a transference from animals to humans, right?
Mhm.
And the main thing that makes COVID The main reason they feel that COVID is so dangerous is not because it's necessarily deadlier than any of the other epidemics that we've had, like swine flu and all that. Swine flu was a situation that where it was came from an animal and transferred to humans, right? We know that. Okay, cool. But the issue, what makes something a pandemic, is when that same disease is now capable of being transferred from a human to another human. And once you get that, then you have to do what's called a what is it called? Um, I forgot the exact term for it, but it's basically a step variable. And so you look at the life cycle and you say, okay, well, how many potential people can one person infect? Well, this person can affect one other person. Okay, so one makes two, two makes four, four makes eight. That's not a problem. The issue that people have is the ease of transmission with COVID, not necessarily the viciousness of it or the how fatal it could be. That was in the beginning. That's what it was. It was a bunch of fear mongering. But at this moment, I think everybody's kind of settling in, and now what's really concerning is that variable, right? Because how many people do you infect if you're on a bus, on a plane, in a movie theater, right? So because of that whole uh 6 foot droplet drop off that for our saliva, right? So if you got somebody, if you stand in the crowd of people at a concert, like EDC, for instance, I know my man went to EDC last year. So if you stand in the concert like that and you've got a bunch of people bumping into each other, it's not one becomes two, it's one becomes five, and five becomes 25. 25 becomes, what's that, 125, and 125 becomes 600. It's that variable that's extremely scary to people.
It's the
But
same with
anyway,
any flu ever.
no, man. Flu is a one step. Actually, the flu is a one step variable. So 90% of all 90% of all flu cases, the odds of them transferring are only to one person. Because the life cycle of the flu is so short that they're no longer contagious by the time they go outside. By the time you show, and they'll tell you that at the doctor, by the time you show symptoms with the flu, you're no longer contagious by that time. So and that's where the confusion is a lot with it. Now I'm not, I'm not a COVID fearmonger. That's not my thing. Um, y'all know me. I'm analytical, so I just want to dive into the science of it. And the reason why doctors find this so scary, and it's really because of how many people you have the ability to infect, and it's really because of how long it's contagious while in your body. Not necessarily that it's overly deadly. It's just how long it's contagious while in your body. So you happen to bump into more people while you have it. That's it. Anywho, um, moving on. Let's get to this credit Q&A with Mr. Brian Fuller. We're
Kyrie
going
Irving. Kyrie Irving.
with Kyrie Irving. We are going to start with the first question of the night. Guys, if you have any questions, if you're watching this live, by the way, Brian, I put that link in the private chat for you.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. We are going to start with a fireball of a question, and we'll
Let
see
her
where.
rip.
Yeah. So, Mr. Fuller,
Yes, sir.
why is there a credit system in the United States, but we don't have a credit system anywhere else in the world? Why are we the only ones participating in this system?
Oh, that's a double-edged sword because we are not the only ones participating. But to answer the first question, it's because America was bankrupt, or America is bankrupt. So there is no money in existence as far as the United States is concerned. And if you understand what the United States is, then you know that there's multiple United States. There's not just one. These are all corporations. So this
And,
is why.
and before you continue, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me continue. I'm talking consumer credit. We are going to get to um, governing bodies. We're going to get to the credit between those because I know that's where you're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
But let's touch on consumer credit first.
All right.
Like the fact that if you're in another country, they won't ever run your credit because they can't run your credit. They can't
Well,
use your social. They can't do anything. Don't have anything attached to it.
it's technically not true. Depending on how you set up your passport, they can totally run your credit and they can totally run your social because of how you set up your passport. So if your passport is set up as a US citizen, your social is usually attached, therefore giving them access to your social, which then for gives them access to your credit. If you set up your passport to not have your social attached, then you're activating as a US national, and now they don't have access to your credit or your social. So that there's we have to be careful how we describe or distinguish what we're talking about. So if, for example, if we're just talking strictly about consumer credit, why is it only in the US of A? Because there's no money in the US of A. It's all fake. It's all a fugazi, whatever you want to call it, as they did in Wall Street. Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist, right? HJR 1933. I posted about this about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago on my stories. How to read it, how to select it, and it tells you very clearly that at that moment in time we took the dollar off the gold standard, and so from that moment forward there was no real money or lawful money in existence. There's now only legal tender, and legal tender is simply an exchange for an I owe you or I will pay you later. So the reason why there's only a credit system in the US of A is because they have to find a way to separate, or if you want to use these words since we're on the Wells Fargo kick right now, racially segregate everybody is from their credit score. But you can control what is reported on your credit score. So you can put yourself from whatever class you start in to whatever class you want to be in by telling a company to cease and desist, right? So that it's hard for me to answer this question just straight up and down because there's layers to it. But why do we only have it, or why do we only have access to it in? Uh, hey, Melissa, why do we only have access to it in the United States, or why do we only use the United States? Because we don't have anything else to use in the States. You see what I'm saying? Like there's nothing else in
Yeah.
existence. We can't use gold. We can't use a piece of paper called the U.S. dollar because that's not real. It's not tangible. If you look, if you pull out, do you have cash on you right now?
Yeah. Well, not in my pocket, but I have cash
Dan,
somewhere
you
here.
have a dollar on you right now?
Man, I never have cash on me.
Okay, so this is a perfect example right here. There's no cash ever on anybody.
They wouldn't
Right?
take cash at the game, man.
That's what I'm
Went to the
saying. So,
game and I wanted to buy a hot dog. They wouldn't
and they
take
wouldn't take
cash,
cash.
man.
But
How different?
if you look on a US bill, you look on a US dollar, it'll tell you on there that it's legal tender. It's not real currency. It tells you on the bill.
Yeah.
And that's the part that people are kind of missing, is that it'll call it, yes, Daniel, exactly. It calls itself a note. It's a Federal Reserve note, FRN, and it's essentially an IOU. So imagine, Dexter, you owe, uh, let's say you owe George, right?
Yeah.
Dexter owes George $10. Dexter doesn't pay George $10. So I go to George and I say, "Hey George, I'm gonna give you 5 U.S. Federal Reserve notes, and I'm gonna collect the other 10 from Dexter for you." All right.
Right.
Now, what can George give me that would equal $10? You can't give me $10 because that's a Federal Reserve note, which is an IOU, and that's just basically I'm gonna pay you later. So we're just exchanging debt for debt.
Right. And the debt is on the governing body itself. So
Right.
while we exchange the note itself is backed by the governing body because it's only an IOU. It's
Right.
clicking now, brother. I got you. I'm with you.
So
I'm with you.
yeah. So it's like the issue is that we've been trained, we've been brought up in a system where you know, hey, we need to pay our bills, we need to do this, this, and this. And I get it. None of us are really alive that during 1933 to see what happened. But if we research what happened during that year, we can clearly see that the government decided in 1933 that they were going to be responsible for all debts from, and that's Title 18, USC 8. They decided that. You can look that up right now, type that in your computer, read it, it'll tell you. The government's responsible for all debts, 18 USC 8. So, if that's the case, why are we paying bills? I'm not telling you not to pay bills. I'm just asking questions. I mean, I want you to think for yourself. This is just a thought provoking process, right? I'm Kyrie Irving. I like to light sage and I like to just, do different things like that. But I'm asking the question. We've always been taught that we need to pay bills because if not, we're going to lose access to the ability to use those services. However, if those services have been guaranteed since 1933, why are we paying for these bills? And that's the question I try to bring to people. I say, okay, show me in federal law, because I can show you federal law. Well, I don't have to. I can show you all day. I got multiple statutes, 18 USC 8. I can show you every day, all day, where the bill is not my responsibility. Show me where you think or where you see the bill is my responsibility, and we'll entertain a conversation. That's all I'm asking.
And that. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I'll just repeat what I was saying.
And that actually is going to bring us to another question that we have. I'm going to put a pin in it now, but I'm going to let me just mark this down because you brought up a good point. You know the laws surrounding that. Most consumers don't. So we're gonna talk about that, and we'll see if we can come up with some practical solutions for everybody here on the live. So what made me think about this is a few of the people here that are on the live know who Max Maxwell is. As y'all know, he's been flying back and forth to Africa, mostly Ghana, and he's now investing over there. Well, one of the things that was shocking to a lot of people after watching his lives and his videos was that everything in Africa has to be purchased with cash. They don't have a credit system, so there's no mortgage that you can have on your house. There's no loan that you can receive from your car. I mean, not from a financial institution anyway. Obviously, you can work out a loan between two people. But as far as anything that you do for large major purchases like a home, they have to be bought in cash. Even if it's a $500,000 house, those houses that you see are purchased in cash.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I was just kind of wondering, like, wow, we have an entire specifically Ghana, we have an entire country that does not take part in a known credit system. But I don't think I think Nigeria is there as well. So we got two countries that don't take a part of the known credit system. Now, granted, although I would visit, I don't plan to move anytime soon to Ghana. I think it would be dope to have a house there, but I don't plan to move anytime soon. But I'm just wondering, like, as somebody living in that space, it has to be very off-putting hearing how obsessed Americans are with credit, because it really does it's like the driving force of classism in the United States. Um, if you've got decent credit, you tend to have, at least for consumer wise, you tend to have more opportunities. It is very expensive having bad credit, right? It's much more expensive having bad credit than it is if you do, and the compounding effect of that.
It's expensive if you're uneducated. It's very lucrative. It's very lucrative if you have bad credit and you know your federal rights.
Well, that's true, but we're talking about the average everyday consumer. We're talking about like 98% of the United States.
And yes,
so
very expensive.
Yeah, very, very expensive. And to compound that, right? If you're poor, right? If you're poor, then and people always, and I'm sorry I'm going on a rant, y'all, but people always say poor people make bad financial decisions, and that's not necessarily true. Poor people prioritize things differently than people that have excess. So while you may think that not paying your car note is a bad decision, right? Somebody who's poor might say, well, it was either car note or the mortgage,
Yeah.
right? So I pay the mortgage or the rent in that case because they probably don't own at the time. So I paid the rent so that we have somewhere to stay, and I can always hide the car in the garage and use it to go to work until I catch up. And you'll say, "Oh, that's a bad financial decision." No, it's a prioritization
Right.
of funds. You know what I'm saying? So, and but let somebody see that you have a 500 credit score, and they'll automatically assume you're fiscally irresponsible. And it's because of this obsession that we as a country have with credit. Sorry, that's my rant for the evening.
Very good, sir. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I agree with you. And that's the part where I struggle. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. Like I struggle with giving away all the information I have for free versus charging for it because I know if people knew what I knew, there would be no struggle. There would be no like if you were willing to take action on what information I have in my brain, there would be less. If they were willing to take action, that's the major banner. Like let's put that in bright lights. If they were willing to take action,
Right.
then there would be a lot less, struggle or a lot less adverse action. Um, and
Yeah.
so like once I was introduced to this information, for me everything changed because I'm like, no matter what they do to me, I win. There is no losing for me. It doesn't matter what they say. There no company supersedes federal law. And if Congress created these laws to protect us from these companies, why are we not enforcing these laws against these companies? It's because we don't know about it. That's really the only explanation I come up with. So part of me is like, okay, we'll give this information away for free. Okay, well if I do that, then part of my free time is now gone forever because I have to now answer questions repeatedly. Um, but then at the same time, I'm eliminating situations like this Wells Fargo lawsuit because this whole lawsuit is it I wish I applied for a house now because I'd oh my god I would document the entire journey. I would crush this place. They'd pay me at least $1 million plus. There's no issue because I'm applying for the most expensive property I can find, and then I'm just once they deny me, I'm saying yeah I'll get double. Thank you. Go ahead, let's come for me. Let's do it.
Well, let's touch on that. So we keep touching on the legalities of credit and having knowledge. So from the perspective of 98% of um 98% of the people in the United States, right?
Right.
How can we best use credit to our advantage?
Okay, so that's a good question. So, and I can't give everybody the same answer. So I'm gonna say it depends on what your goals are as an individual, right? So let's say, for example, you need a high limit credit card for a safety net. Perfect. You can utilize credit for that reason. No problem, no issues there, right? But it's not just about having access to that high limit credit card that gives you access to credit. Credit is so much bigger than just a limit on a credit card. It's delayed times. It's a
Yeah,
it's you're purchasing time. That's what you're doing.
literally manipulating time. Yeah.
Manipulating time. You're
Mhm.
like if you ever seen that movie with Justin Timberlake, Time, you're
Yeah,
that's exactly
my entire movie was about credit. Yeah.
yeah, it's exactly what it was. And so that's what you're purchasing. Hi, buddy. That's what you're purchasing when you have credit. So let's say, for example, you got a $25,000 credit card. Your car needs $10,000 in repairs. You're buying the longevity for that car for that $10,000 of the 25 grant. However, if you really know your laws, that's all paid for. It's free because now you send that bill to the U.S. Treasury, right? And that bill's paid for already, right, by the original document that your parents signed, which is your birth certificate. That's a whole different conversation. But now you have the whole thing purchased for free, the repair for free, and you got more time with that car. You're purchasing time with credit. Credit gives you time, and the fact that we only view it as okay, well, I got this credit card gives me this perks for this card to get this benefit, like that's very narrow minded, and we don't know anything different until we're exposed to hey, once you get access to this $25,000 credit card, now you have the ability to purchase a house in Ghana once you liquidate the card and go through another, swipe share, da 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 da. Like we have so many options where we can turn credit to cash if we need to grab a property overseas. You only need 10% down in any situation ever. You never need all cash ever.
And to pause you for a moment, we should probably do something like that.
Yeah.
A credit to cash workshop, because that was something that fascinated me. Like when I got my first high limit credit card, like what do you like you mean to tell me? I mean, because the first thing you see on there, right, is that cash advance, the how high the interest rate is on that cash advance, right? And you think I would never pull cash off this card with that high behind the interest rate. But then hanging out with my best buddy here, I'm like, he's like, nah, we can turn that to cash easy, bro. I'm like, what do you mean? And we now we do it all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like we do it all the time. We take whatever you need. You got a credit card with a $25,000 limit like I do. You need 10 G's off of it. Cool. We'll turn it into cash by tomorrow. Like and we do that all the time. So we definitely should do a workshop on it. Yeah, legally. Yeah, it's nothing like crazy, but it's 100% legal. And we should probably do a workshop on that because I don't think many people know how to manipulate their credit in that way. That'd be cool. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's a perfect segue because I think that once people realize the power of it. So, for example, right?
Hold on, you gotta answer this question.
Dylan, no, I do not. The Treasury pays my bill. I'm gonna give you the reason why I don't pay my bills. Okay, I'm gonna give you this book. I want you to read it. Give yourself credit. Okay. Money doesn't grow on trees. Give yourself credit. All right. Read that book. That'll tell you how. Now, once you finish the book, the number on the back of your social security number, this number like right here in red back here, I'm not going to leave it up there because y'all can't steal my shit. But the red number on the back of your social security card, that's how you pay for everything. So you send that to the U.S. Treasury, the UCC department. You send them that number right there. They take the money from the birth certificate that your parents signed without your permission that signed you over to collection services for the government. You give that number to them, everything's paid for. I stopped paying for bills 3 months ago. Verizon.
How long ago?
3 months ago.
3 months ago.
Yeah. So we need about 6 months to see if the collections are coming. I'm just messing with you, big dog.
Hey.
I'm just messing with you, big dog.
Listen. I pay the minimums now, and then everything gets wiped once the Treasury applies it to the company. Right. Company can't take the Treasury.
How long
so I pay the minimums. Yeah, I pay the minimums on all my cards, and then once the Treasury hits it, it gets zeroed out.
So how long does that process typically take?
60 to 90 days.
Okay.
Yeah, depends on how you send it though. If you send it regular mail versus certified, You know what I mean? But
yeah.
There's multiple ways to skin a cat. So people are very elementary with credit. That's why you meet a lot of opposition in this category, in this conversation, because The issue is the issue isn't the information. The issue is application.
Yeah.
So if I tell you that, oh, I don't have to pay for my bills anymore, like da 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 da, and I tell you the USC code 18 USC 8 that they're not my responsibility, this and this and this, everybody think that sounds cool, but most people won't do is they won't take the step until they see the result poster all over social media first. Oh, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to do this, da da da. I want to make sure you did it first and you're not in jail, da da da. And that's fine. So while I'm not paying bills and you paying bills, you want to watch me not pay bills. That's cool. I'm not
Right.
stressing on that. But what I try to is like, listen, everything that I'm telling you, you can verify from the federal statute. I gave you the code to go look at.
But bro, listen to what you're saying though, because what you're saying, you're essentially telling them to do what we refuse to do in Vegas, right? Remember we were in Vegas, and we were hanging out with some of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, and they were doing all these crazy things, and they were like, "Yeah, you want to go with us? You want to, let's walk across the street with your drink." And so Brian said, "Well, you walk across the street first."
I'm doing that shit.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you get away with it, I have a leg to stand on, right?
Yeah.
And that's essentially what people are doing with you, man. They're trying to let you do it first, so that we've got proof. We've got a proof of concept. And think about it, when we were in Vegas, we did that the entire time. Not knowing, being in a strange place, not knowing what the laws were. Our number one rule was don't do anything unless you see white people do it first.
100%.
And then you
that is my rule.
Then you can join in.
Anywhere I go ever, it's my rule. If I go to Hawaii, that's my fucking rule. I don't get
here. So I think it's kind of that that same concept, man. It's that people just want to see. I want to see somebody get away with it. You know what I mean? And then I'll jump in. I just bought the book novel, so got the paperback from Amazon. It'll be here in 2 days. Cool, Dylan. Dylan taking action.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with waiting for the result part. I'm just saying, like, that's the thing that holds most people back, is because, I mean, it's unfortunate we don't associate how we grew up playing sports with this process. If I wanted to learn how to shoot threes, and somebody taught me a one method and say, hey, if you do this 1,000 shots a day, you'll get it. And then I do the same thing with this document. Hey, if you send this document 1,000 times, you'll get it. You'll get the result. Like, it's the same thing. We're literally doing the same thing. It's just with a different arena, different game. And so I get it. Trust me. I get it. Trust me. Like, no one was more afraid to venture out against what my parents taught me growing up, what my friends believed growing up, than me. But at the same time, there's literally people out here that are not paying a bill ever. There's literally people out here that are not worrying about what their credit score is. Like, there's people out here that are just existing and they're doing whatever they want. And those people that I want to follow, I don't want to be as stressed out as some of my family members were. That's not my style. For me, that's not it. And I love my family. Don't get me wrong. Don't want no disrespect. If that's what they believe, that's what they got to go down that route to do what they got to do. I understand it. But for me, I know what it's like to, like, D, like, we've made $20 last a week between two of us. Like, if I don't need to go and do that route, I'm not doing that. That's just why. And then I learned that I had a birth certificate that was worth $1 million from the studies that I've been doing. Like, okay, so just give them the right number and I'm paid for. So that's all I studied until I figured it out.
Guys, if you're watching right now, if you're watching live right now, and you're finding some value in information that Brian is giving and the bombs that he's dropping on you, please, it's free. Give us a like. Help us with the algorithm. Help get some more eyes on the podcast. And subscribe to the channel so that the next time we go live, you guys will get a notification. But yeah, 100%. Go ahead and like for us. Appreciate it.
Also, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat.
Yeah. Go ahead and drop them in the chat. Going to be on here for another 20 minutes or so. So if you got any questions and you want to get them answered, now's the time to drop them. We'll be answering whatever questions you have. And yes, this is a credit Q&A, but we have Daniel has a background in mortgages. We all have some background in real estate. That's our primary business function. So if you guys have questions in any of those arenas, Dylan is also here. Dylan's also uh, uh, deep into real estate, crypto, NFT. So guys, drop your questions in the chat. There's always going to be somebody here that can chime in and help. Cool. All right. Dylan says, click the button in my head because
Dylan crazy.
Click the button in real life, Dylan. Click the button in real life, bro. All right. So yeah. John, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Senor Botello.
All right. So we already had the discussion about whether, and we did this last show, right? We had this whole discussion about whether credit is legal. So now I think the focus should be that ball is already rolling. There's nothing that we could do to pull the rug out from this this system that has so much momentum, right? The citizens of the United States are basically 99.99% have already bought into it. So it is what it is. I guess the real question is now, how do we move with that? You know, if I was to say, okay, I want to, I don't want to do the research that it takes to exit this system. I don't want to go through the processes to exit this system. I like the system. I just need to know what my first step is to winning within the confines of the current system. Um, if you were to do credit repair for someone and you knew they were the type of, I know you don't do it anymore, but I'm saying if you were, and you knew they were the type to do it within the confines of the system, they didn't want to go outside, like with the knowledge that you have. What would you instruct them to do first? Where would they start? Um, just an everyday consumer, where would they start?
I think the first question has to be, what is that consumer's goal? Because I can't direct you if I don't know your goals, right? So if your goal is just to be, hey, I want a high credit score because I want to have a high credit score. Like I've met people that's all they wanted. They just wanted a high credit score just to have one. Like that's a waste of time to me. But if that's all they wanted, it's easy to direct you in that path. However, if you have a goal in mind, let's say you wanted to get a house or a home,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to point you in the direction of the Truth in Lending Act because you cannot be denied legally. Like that's a legal violation. It's not a question of morality. It's not a question of, oh, Brian, you might be scamming the system. No. Like this, I can show you the federal laws that show you cannot be denied for a auto loan, a mortgage, anything.
Right.
It's illegal.
So
It depends on the goal of the person.
I'm gonna pause you right there. So let's suppose they do apply for a mortgage, they get denied, and they don't want to contest. Right? Mortgage company says, "Hey, we need at least a 680. We need you to have your credit history in order." All right. And they say, we need you to do all those things. What is in, and this person has an eviction, they have a repo or whatever, and they don't care about the rights of it. I just want this mortgage by the end of the month. What do you tell them?
I tell that person that they can go find the nearest beach and pound sand. No, because that if they don't care about their rights, then they're not. I'm the wrong person to talk to. Like let's be honest. Like so if we want to have that same question redirected in a different manner, and everybody will care about it. If that person was taken advantage of sexually, now all of a sudden the person cares too much. Period. That person cares all day, every day. Oh, I didn't appreciate any of this. I didn't want this. I didn't ask for this. Da 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 da. Okay, how is that any different than you being denied for a purchase of a home? You wanted the home, you were denied the home against your rights, and you want nothing to do with it now. That's the same. That's the same decision, same scenario, just different context. So I try to bring it up as nicely as I can, but like that's the only venue I found that people get the point. Like if I don't bring it up as sexual assault, they don't get it. If I bring it up as sexual assault, they get it. Now all of a sudden, oh, it makes sense because it's something that you wanted, but you didn't give consent for, right? And now all of a sudden it makes sense because hey, I wanted this house. If I'm denied, and I can, like I said, I can pull up the Truth in Lending Act. It'll show you where it says if you're denied from the use of your credit and you miss out on the opportunity, you get double the investment. So the duplex that I sent you, Dex, the other day for 400, if I get denied and I miss out on it, I get 800 cash. It's guaranteed by federal law. It's not a question of, oh, did this consumer meet these criteria? No, I don't have to meet your criteria. No, I meet the federal criteria. I have the social security number. You as a company do not have the criteria. You are trying to dictate terms you have no power of dictating terms for. Right. And so a big thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people, what happens is they enter into contract with these companies, right? So let's say, for example, Daniel goes into a relationship with Chase. Chase says, oh, well, if we ever harm you, we're going to just make sure we get into an arbitration agreement and you can't sue us unless you talk to arbitration.
Sure.
Okay, well, Daniel says, hey, I'm going to waive that right to arbitration. I'm just going to sue you for the federal laws. Now they're stuck. They can't do anything. Daniel has a right to waive any agreement with any contract.
Right.
Well, now,
right.
But it's hard for me to answer your question without.
If you okay, so let's dive into that because we got a little bit of time left. Let's dive into that.
Okay.
So we do real estate.
Yeah.
So in my mind and in my eyes, I see buying a house just like going to buy a video game. I see it no different. It's just a product with a larger price attached to it.
Accurate.
I see it no different. So now, granted, I do see your perspective on the Truth in Lending Act because you're asking a financial institution for the basically for the funds for that investment. So I can kind of wrap my head around that. Where it gets sticky for me is you're essentially saying because imagine this is imagine my house is for sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to buy my house.
Mm-hmm.
You offer me let's just use the same number, 400,000. And I said, heck no. Is it you crazy? No, it's not
Right.
enough. Right? Even so I guess what I have trouble separating is the product from the legality of the law, right? Because if you I guess what we're talking about is the actual Truth in Lending Act itself and not necessarily the home,
Right.
right? So it's the fact that you requested the funds, not necessarily the fact that the home is yours by right. And if we're talking about arbitration agreements, typically you have to agree to that before you enter into the contract to buy the home. Now, my question is this: suppose that lender just wants to deny you service, like any other institution can do. Um, does that mean that they have now closed the door on that option? Because if you go to a lender and you say, hey, and they say, hey, these are the things we need you to agree to before we'll consider you for a mortgage, right? And if you choose not to agree to those things, and they say, okay, well, hey, we won't run your credit, we won't do none of that. We just refuse to offer you service to begin with. How does that bode with your knowledge of the Truth in Lending Act?
Can you pull up the link I sent you? Put it on the screen.
Yeah.
In any situation in which your social is used, you are automatically the victor in a federal sense.
But what I'm saying is before you even get to that, before they even pull your social, if they if you if they say, hey, these are the things we're looking for, because typically when you find when you're looking for a mortgage, right, it's
Mm-hmm.
a 2 or 3 step process. First process is um, you basically finding a mortgage. Typically, they want a home to look at so that they can say, okay, well, this is the type of home you're looking for, this type of rate that we consider you for. Okay, cool. We'll see if you can afford that. But before you do any of that, when you do your prequal or whatever, they'll ask you some general questions. They won't actually pull your credit. Some won't, some will, some won't. But for the most part, they'll say, "Hey, what is your credit score?" They'll ask you, "What's your credit score?" And they'll say, "What's your income? What is this and this and this?" And if you don't meet their criteria, and they'll say, "Hey, we just we're not right for you right now."
Sure.
What leg do you have to stand on at that point? Because they haven't you haven't entered into agreement with them. They haven't pulled your social. They just asked you a bunch of arbitrary questions. So what do you where do you go from there?
The Truth in Lending Act was made by Congress for the exact purpose of extending credit to consumers who requested it. So any situation in which you feel, and that's up to you as a consumer, it's not up to the company. Any situation in which you feel you've been discriminated against, you have a right to pursue remedy from Truth Lending Act. Now, let's say, for example, they educated enough, which they aren't. Let's say they were educated enough to say, oh, even if you don't give us the $10,000 we're requesting for this property, if you don't meet these criteria, we'll go ahead and do this, this, and this, right? They're not going to do that because most people are very not educated. Scroll down to section P. If on this document you can, it's all the way to, it might be towards the middle of the bottom of the page. We're at A and B at the top here. Um, but right there, boom, pause. So as you can see from section P of this definitions of what applies to this, the term authorized use as used as in section means the use of a credit card by a person other than the credit card or the card holder who does not have actual implied or apparent authority for use of such which or use which from the cardholder receives no benefit. All right, perfect. So if we break down this definition of unauthorized use from the Lending Act, and we start with credit card. If we right click credit card and bring that on the screen, if we can do that, Dex.
Oh, where we at? Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep, right there, perfect.
Let's say bring that on the screen. Let me share that one. Oh, hold on.
Yep. So if we just start with that one,
Chrome tab, credit card. There we go.
all right, perfect. So if we're reading this definition, right, the term credit card means any card, plate, coupon book, or any other credit device existing for the purpose of obtaining money, property, labor, or services on credit. Okay, perfect. So let's start over the definition. The term credit card means any card. What card do you have in your possession that you take to any bank when you want to get a credit card or anything else? What card or quote unquote card do you take with you?
Your social security card.
Very
Yeah.
good. So that's what a definition of credit card is. So let's go back to the previous definition of unauthorized use.
Unauthorized use. Let me pull it real quick. 1 second. All right.
Okay. So if we come back to this definition and we substitute the word credit card for social security card, the term unauthorized use, as used in this section, means the use of a social security card by a person other than the card holder who does not have actual implied or apparent authority for such use and from which the card receives a benefit. Okay, so now that we know what card holder means, we need to know what person means. Person usually means natural person or organization. I can tell you that from memory, but if you want to put it on the screen just so people know what it means also, you can do that. But if you don't want to put it on the screen, right there, say natural person, right? So who is a natural person? That's you, Daniel, that's myself. We're all
Right.
natural people. We're the ones that are natural blood. We are breathing human beings.
Right.
So right now, so far, this definition is only describing us. That's it. So anybody else under this unauthorized use, right? Go back
You
to
want to go back
the
to unauthorized use?
Yep. Let's go back to that definition real quick. Perfect. So let's read it again with the words that we know that exist. The term unauthorized uses section means the use of a social security card by a natural person or a human by the card holder. Now that's the only word we need to. That's the last word we need to research to make sure we understand what this definition means of
Card
unauthorized use.
holder.
Card holder.
Card holder. All right.
So let's pull up the definition of card holder. It means any person, which we know by person is a natural person or a human, you, me, or Daniel, to whom a credit card is issued, which is us. Credit card is social security number, that's us. Or any person, that's us, who has agreed with or the card issuer to pay obligations arise from the issuance of credit card or other person. So this definition basically says if we don't get a benefit from the use of our social security number, it is a unauthorized use of our social security number, which means it's fraud. Therefore, we should receive a benefit and we can sue the shit out of these people.
Gotcha.
And so that's the part of the Truth in Lending Act that's a major component to it because a lot of people don't know that, right? And people
Gotcha.
just let it happen. If they get denied, they're like, "Oh, I got denied. Let me go call this credit repair company and hope I get assistance." No, you don't need that. Like, let's be honest. If you know your rights, like you can literally call the FTC and be like, "Hey, this is identity theft." All those hard inquiries on anybody's report, deleted immediately. It's illegal. You can't run my information and not give me a benefit for it. There is no benefit having you charging or putting that on my credit report without a benefit.
Other than a financial one for you,
Right.
in getting paid for reporting the information,
Right.
essentially.
That's the only benefit. So to answer your previous question of how do people kind of benefit from the use of credit or whatever the case is, you can benefit in multiple ways. It's just how much do you want to learn to benefit? Do you want to be able to benefit a lot or benefit a little? Some people are just like, oh, I don't want to take time to learn all that information. That's fine. It's not for everybody. But you also can't be like, oh, this doesn't work for everybody. Like, no, it does. Federal law supersedes all company policies. There's no company policy that will ever supersede federal law. No matter what you sign, there is no policy that you can sign that will ever give up. So you will always have a remedy for your federal rights. But people don't know that. Because people think, oh, I signed this contract. Yes, that's fine. But if the contract didn't state specifically clearly where you had the initial next to it that you are giving up your federal rights, you don't give up your federal rights, which means federal rights are still intact and you could still sue them for federal violations. You just have to know where that's placed. And you can always revoke anything anytime. I had my apartment complex shook today because I told them, yo, I will revoke arbitration agreement and I will sue the hell out of you for tomorrow if you don't give me what I asked for. And they were done by 3:15 today. They gave me everything I asked for.
DeMarcus, welcome back, sir. With a question here.
Is there any case law in consumers benefit that confirms you can litigate against the company that denies you credit? There's federal law. Yeah, there's plenty of federal law that is very clear. If you want an actual case that's been won, I don't have any off the top of my head. I've never needed one. I just state the federal laws, and I've won those over turns. But if you want one, I can find one for you. Just DM me. Let me know what you're interested in. But all denials are illegal. So if you want to code it from the federal law side or the Code of Federal Relations side, CFR, either way, they're both illegal. So if you get denied, a company says, "Oh, you gotta wait 90 days." No, you don't. It's illegal. If they tell you gotta wait until you've been with the company for 880 days, that's not true either. It's illegal. That's just their company policy, which doesn't supersede federal law. So nothing that the company has will ever supersede federal law. And you've never signed anything that says, "Oh, I give away my federal rights." It's illegal to do that.
Guys, if you are still here with us, we definitely appreciate you. Go ahead and give us a like, help us out with the algorithm, help get some more eyes on this. We're going to be wrapping up here shortly, but so that you're notified next time we go live, which we do every Thursday evening with a different topic. Sometimes it's real estate, sometimes it's credit, sometimes it's crypto. But it's always dope and always fun. So go ahead and subscribe, like and subscribe, and make sure you stay connected. And also send us a DM if you would like to join the panel. If you've got some wisdom to share, or if you just find some of the stuff that we talk about to be BS, and you kind of want to just join the conversation and say, "Nah, fam, that's not how that worked," and have an actual conversation with us. We're down with that too. We got some rules and we want you to be respectful, but we'll definitely have you up on the panel. We love to have you. Just shoot us a DM. We love to set it up. Dylan says, "What's the best way to communicate with the company that them denying you is illegal? Over the phone, email, letter?" That kind of goes to what with something else that DeMarcus stated, which I'll put up on the screen in a second. But go ahead. Want to answer that question, Brian?
Yeah. So D, definitely want to make sure that you keep the denial and you use it as a reference. So here's what happens, right? And here's what a lot of people don't know. Anything that is sent via the United States Postal Service system and is not accurate information is $1 million fine. Okay. So simply referencing that in your letter to respond to their denial is a major gold mine. But most people don't know that. So let's say you get denied for an increase of $5,000, whatever, weak stuff. But in the letter you put, since you sent this letter attached and you highlighted that you could not increase my credit limit to this amount, even though banks are not allowed to provide extensions of loans or anything like that of their own assets or to Title 12. Like I got jokes for days. But let's say you use that verbiage and they don't use it, you have $1 million fine plus the automatic guarantee of your credit card being increased to the amount it needs to. So you have a few different remedies, but it's all about how you apply the situation. So most people when they get upset, they use emotion. I don't believe in emotion. Let me change how I say that. I don't believe in emotion directed towards these companies. If you operate emotionally, you win. So if you say, "Hey, listen, you guys sent me this via USPS and it's a violation of the postal service code, that's $1 million fine," they will get their stuff together. Trust me. Will they rather give you $5,000, $10,000 in credit over $1 million in cash because they violated the USPS postal service? Of course. Every day. All day, every day. 18 USC 1341 for postal service frauds and swindles.
Got you. Danielle has a question for you. We're gonna keep going down. DeMarcus, I saw your comment. I put it on the screen in just a second. I got you, brother.
I reported to a creditor to BBB. They responded to me with a signed, what is the lease agreement? Is that a lease agreement with someone else's influence validation? Any guys for next steps? Codes to look at. I don't know what a lease agreement is. Definitely need you to clear that up. But yeah, I don't complain to the BBB. In my opinion, it's a waste of time. Because the regulator is not the BBB. So whoever your company is, they have a regulator. And that's how I would complain to. The BBB is not a regulator of anything. They're not. They don't. They're. If you ever read federal statutes for the administrative enforcement, they never have BBB listed ever in the history of anything. So the BBB is just a spot where people can complain and just complain. Like that's all it is. So if you were, let's say you listed the company, let's say it was 123 AAC. I would say look up AAC 123 AAC on Wikipedia and see who they regulate. Wikipedia always tells you who they regulate. And then I would complain to them. Typically, if it's a lease agreement, you're looking at the CFEB and the state attorney. And so that's what I would complain to. The BBB is a waste of time. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't get results from them. I've never told my clients to get results from them. So I would always go to the CFPB and the Attorney General and then tell that person what they're doing. But also be very direct and also be very organized with your information. Don't be all over the place. Oh, I sent this company this document on this date, and then I have that date match up. Because if that company can match when you sent it versus when they received it, you will lose. So just be very organized and don't use the BBB. That's trash, honestly. Use the CFPB and use the Attorney General method. Those are probably the best regulators you have for your situation. Especially if they use the wrong information for validation, like just keep that information on hand, attach it to your complaint, and then complain, and you'll be good.
All right, so we got two back-to-back comments that I'm going to post from DeMarcus because they make sense in context. So first he says 98% of your remedy will come from litigating. No company will give you anything just based off a letter. You have to understand their language, and that language is the language of the courts. So sue them. And he also said previously, and I'll put it on the screen as well. Let me find it here.
I disagree with DeMarcus on that.
Case law will be needed when litigating, and always remember that just remember people, the law doesn't change because you misinterpret it. I get the feeling, and once again, we always love the conversation. So and always remember, like, this is not, whenever we have these lives, guys, it's not a one-sided show. We have guests on to share their wealth of knowledge, but this is about the conversation and how that conversation can move us all forward. So, DeMarcus, we appreciate you coming through, brother. We definitely will probably have you on the show at some point. If you're down for it, man, just let us know. 100%, we'd love to have you.
Yeah,
But do you want to? You said you disagree, Brian. Do you want to address this, or you can address it or not?
No, I definitely want to address it because I disagree. Not 100%, but about probably 98%, like he put in there. The company will give you what you ask for if you ask correctly, but you can't ask it from the help. So if you're sending letters to the address they ask you to send letters to, you're going to be denied, obviously, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. So if you're sending letters to the basic address that they send you, card, dispute, denials, whatever, 123, they're gonna give you issues. But if all my letters are addressed to the CEO, CFO, and the legal representative, so I always get the response I want, because if they fail to respond, they are already on the hook, and they don't want to be on the hook. They want to be the most pristine people from ever. Like, just let's think about the politics of the situation. So most people send all their letters to the file they find out on Google, blah, 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 blah. Or let me search my Google profile, blah, 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 blah. Or my Experian profile, blah, 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 blah. And they see that address, they give them there. And they send the letter to that one, which is fine. No big deal there. But you're sending it to the help. What I'm doing, or what I do with all my clients and everybody else I assisted, I'm going straight to the CEO, the CFO, and the legal counsel because I want a result immediately. So I'm Googling, let's say Discover, for example, Discover CEO. I see his name is like Shababa Bibi, ba 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 ba. Okay, great. Beautiful name. He's got a luxurious name. I love him. Shababa Bibi. I'm CCing him. Stop laughing. I'm trying to be
serious. I hate you, bro. I hate you. Okay.
I'm trying to be serious. All right, so listen. No, DeMarcus is right. We have one chance and it's a wrap, 100%. But I'm literally searching for the CEO, the CFO, and then a compliance manager, or the.
Man, what is going on?
Finish your statement, man, so we can wrap the show up, man.
I know.
He's going off the rails.
We'll never make it to TV because of you. Say what you gotta say.
It's not my fault. But I listen. I'm trying to make sure that I attach everybody important in the conversation because, listen, if it ever needs to get to the point where I need to file a lawsuit, they can never say they would never saw the document because it's in every single document, right? The thing that most people do when they try to do the whole dispute method or credit repair method is they send stuff to the basic address and it's not addressed to anybody. So how do you have any legal reference in federal court when you have to mention somebody? Federal court requires you to mention who you spoke to in this process. So if I highlight the CEO every single letter, that's who I spoke to, the CEO.
Everybody has the right to face their accuser. Yeah.
Exactly. You can't face an accuser if you never name one. See what I'm saying? So I agree with DeMarcus 100%, 98%, not 100%. 98% I agree with DeMarcus. But if I know that I can get a hold of somebody in power, I'm coming for your neck.
Gotcha. All right, so we are getting ready to wrap this up. We are further over time than we have ever been.
Man, let's go ahead. It's 13. We got 13 more minutes, man. Just
all right. So Dylan says, so I got to find the CEO and legal teams and address Wells Fargo and Capital One and Chase. Dylan, you might need to.
Depends on the situation. Dylan,
connect with Brian like one-on-one.
Yeah, Dylan, hit me up. And hit me up for real. Don't just hit me up randomly next week. Hit me up for real. But in this situation, you want to make sure you come correct, and you want to make sure that you have the legal backing to support whatever claim you're making. So let's say, for example, just for Wells Fargo, for example, because I can't stand them just because of the last 2 weeks I've been pissed off with them. But for Wells Fargo, for example, you want the CEO's name and you want the legal compliance manager's name. And because they are currently in a class action lawsuit, you want to reference the class action lawsuit. So you want to put that in the attention spot. And you want to say you are like in combination with this class action lawsuit, you're currently violating the similar thing you're being sued for, because that'll get you a result. You see what I'm saying? Like it's a whole different ball game when you're playing the legal side. Like most people just want to play in the, I got denied. I don't like Wells Fargo. Man, no, let's pass on all that. Like let's get real results. Like, okay, Wells Fargo denied me and they violate my federal rights. Let's apply those federal rights and then go after the CEO. Because now if they don't respond in 30 days, default judgment summary, automatic guaranteed win. Would you rather have a default judgment summary guaranteed win or try to get a default judgment summary guaranteed win and be like, oh, I didn't know who I talked to. I didn't talk to anybody. No. You know, CEO, CFO, legal counsel. They all got your letter. If they didn't, they're lying because it's on all of our letters.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Anybody else got any questions that you want Brian to address? You have the state claim and have the state claim and have cause of action, or the courts will dismiss your lawsuit.
If you don't do it right, yes, DeMarcus is correct. If you don't do it right, you will lose. But it's very simple to do it right. Affidavit of truth, notice of default, opportunity to cure, submit the documentation through the clerk of courts, and be done with it. It's very simple to do correctly. It's not hard. It's just we weren't taught that. But he is correct. If you don't do it right, you will lose. You can't be walking in there like, hey, my titties got rubbed the wrong way. I don't like it.
Bro, what are you
Man,
going through
come
tonight,
on.
man? All right.
Daniel's at like 6 words a night. I'm trying to get Daniel to talk more.
No, you know, the reason I haven't said too much is because every question that I've had, like every time I've had the question, you've ended up answering it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a situation where I didn't have anything to say. It's where when I wanted to speak, the answer was coming out of your mouth. So I said, okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want everybody to like understand like everything I'm saying, I can point you to federal statutes, I can point you to federal laws, everything I'm saying, I can point you to books to research. Everything I'm saying is it's not just me making it up, you know. If you have any questions on it, please feel free to DM me. I have no problem answering questions. But I think the biggest part of all of this is that we are all currently distracted by the Wells Fargo conversation, and we're missing the bigger picture where we can kind of dictate the future of our lives and our families' lives if we just knew or learned a few different federal laws and federal statutes. And so that's what I really wanted to get across here. I don't everything else, we're having a good time with, but like study the Truth in Lending Act. If the more you study that and apply that to your life, the better off you'll be.
We got a huge gem in the chat from DeMarcus. Shout out to you, brother, for always participating. Says, look up the companies you want to go after in Pacer and see how others were able to beat them and use that to your benefit.
Yep. Yeah, DeMarcus dropping gems right now. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pacer don't. Yeah, you're not supposed to know about Pacer if you're an average consumer, but if you know about it, ball game.
Yeah.
So for an average consumer, where would you start? You said so. You give a couple of books and then give that third reference, the Truth in Lending Act.
Yeah. So Pacer is very simple. You can just go on. You can just type Pacer in Google and you can get it. It'll cost you a couple of dollars. But you'll have access to all the court documents that have ever gone through the court system for whatever company you're going after. You can see how they've phrased their arguments. You can see how other people have phrased their arguments against them. It's kind of like a who's who of who's ready to ball, basically. So it'll cost you maybe like $10, $15 max, but you can see everything.
Okay. So somebody that wants to go on this, I'll call it a journey of enlightenment. Yeah. Give us 3 book recommendations that you would have them start with. I know the first one is going to be Strawman. I'm right there with you. That was the first one you gave me. But give them 3 book recommendations. I guess I'll ask the second question after that. What are your 3 book recommendations for them to start with if they want to awaken themselves with consumer finance?
So the first one is definitely going to be the Strawman book. And then after that one,
hold on, straw or strong?
Straw.
Okay.
Hang on, give me 1 second.
Yep. Yeah. So, guys, once again, if you're still watching this live, this has been a good one. We're going on 90 minutes here. Fantastic live today. And if you are still here, do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. help us with the algorithm. And we appreciate y'all because we do see the subscriber count going up. We appreciate you guys coming through. And we'll participate. You guys that come through and participate, we love it. And again, we do this every Thursday. If you guys have some topics that you want us to cover, we'll find a guest. We'll bring a guest on to discuss it. If you have some expertise that you would like to share, shoot us a DM. We love to have a conversation with you and bring you on the show if possible. 100%. So yeah. And as a matter of fact, while we're waiting on Brian to return, if you guys have some topics that you would like us to cover in the future, and again, real estate, crypto, whatever, drop it down in the comment sections, and we read all your comments, obviously. So we'll find somebody, an expert. If we don't know it, we'll find an expert in the area to come share with you guys.
Most definitely.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about this whole process, right? And kind of like not paying bills. It kind of eliminates the need for OPM.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, OPM, other people's money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Dylan, that's Strawman, as in scarecrow, Strawman. Oh, Kyrie got a haircut. Yeah.
Hey, there he is.
Hey,
That's Brian.
it went from Kyrie to Will Smith like that.
Nah, 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 nah. All right. But outside of the straw man, to be honest with you, it really depends on the person. But if I had to give somebody like a method that I followed,
a blueprint, yeah.
yeah. So if I guess my blueprint that I followed from the straw man, what I go next into is give yourself credit. This book right here, because like you really like most of us are paying bills we shouldn't be paying, and so that bill right there or that book right there will teach you how not to do that. And then it kind of depends on what you want to learn next. So for me, what I learned after that was how to speak to a clerk of court. So let me show you the book for that one. This one.
It says Law Clerk Handbook.
Yeah. Because not everybody that shows documentation in a courtroom gets submitted. Mm-hmm. And so the issue is if you don't know how to put that person on notice, like, hey, I know what your role is, you can kind of get stuck with not having the right documentation submitted. And so if it's all submitted through the court the first time, that company that it's sent to has no legal response. Right?
Gotcha.
Dylan, it's a $5 title. Hang on.
Are you gonna put that in the show notes?
Yeah, I'm dropping it all in the show notes. I'll drop the links and everything for you guys too.
Yeah, let me send it. Let me pull it up.
Dylan, I know you said you're gonna rewatch the stream. So I'll drop the link in the show notes for you, and all you gotta do is click the link and you can go grab it. I got you, brother.
David E. Robinson.
There you go.
Hang on. David E. Robinson. It's literally $5 on Amazon. So if I type it in here, will he see it or no?
DeMarcus just dropped it in there. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, DeMarcus. But yeah, it's got 5 stars. 2,000 people reviewed it. You'll see it. $5.50. Cheap as hell. And this is like a real conversation. Like if you think about it, everything DeMarcus is bringing up is just making sure you guys do this process properly. Like DeMarcus isn't saying like it's not real. He's just saying like do it right. Like don't do it wrong.
Right, because the government is going to try to poke holes in every argument. Well, not the government, but the body that you're trying to litigate against is going to try to poke holes in every argument that you have. So you need to have an answer when that happens. You need to know how to respond properly. You need to have your. I think you put up in Instagram yesterday, Brian. If you if you haven't litigated the case already in your head before you get to court, you've already lost.
Oh yeah,
You need to have done that before you get to court. Don't try to litigate it in the courtroom. You need to have all that planned out before you step in. So we definitely appreciate the conversation. Whether and again, we always say this is not a safe space. We don't need everybody to agree.
Right.
We just need everybody to be respectful. But this is 100% not a safe space. If you say something that's capped, we gonna let you know. So no, it's not a safe space. But
yeah.
all right, we are right up against it. 90 minutes. Do we have any final thoughts on this subject? We're wrapping it up for the night. Any final thoughts from anybody? Daniel, you got anything you want to share?
No, man, I'm good. This has been a wealth of knowledge, and you really have. I'm one of the people that you have spurred to enlightenment, right? I want to find a little bit more about how to cash in on my Social Security number.
It is yours. It is not anybody else's. And a lot of people, we weren't taught this, but like there's so much benefit that comes out of it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's truly ours. And so if we go for a property that's 500 grand and we don't get it from a company that decided to deny us, we can literally turn around and sue them for double whatever the initial loss was. The initial loss was 500. They already got the 500 from the Federal Reserve. That's how it works. So if you use your social and you want a property that's worth 500 grand, they've already collected the 500 grand from you. They just decided not to give it to you.
Yeah,
because they decided from their company algorithm that you weren't worthy of it, and so you just sue them for your 500 grand back plus 2 or times 2, and you get a milli. And now it's like, okay, well, now you give me what I want. Now I can get whatever property I need across the country because I'm paid forever.
we're going to have a conversation about the multiple corporations of America
Yeah.
offline.
Offline for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we will set up something. We'll definitely do a. We're gonna close the series out probably with a part 3, and we'll close the series out. But we'll definitely see if we have some time to set up these conversations for a more frequent approach. Something not so long, but something that will allow us to keep this conversation going. Um, uh, in the meantime, in between time. But it was a great show. We appreciate everybody for coming through. Thank you for everybody that joined in the conversation.
Hold on,
Thank
bro.
you.
Hold on. What does
What's up?
Dylan talk about? Yeah, bro. Whoever told you that's cap. That only happened one time, and that was a rumor. Okay.
Statutory damages compensation. Hey, Demarcus. While you guys are going through that, man, we've really been talking about credit, but we really should do a consumer litigation type show
That
where
would be
we
good.
yeah, and we can just dive, and we can really just dive into that. We'll have you both on actually, because you guys really share the same concept, but attack it from two different directions.
Yeah, most
And I think it'd be dope to have that conversation. I think it'd be fantastic. Looks like Danielle agrees, so we'll have to set that up. Mark says that's Chi-Town. All right.
Hell
Anything
yeah.
else, guys? Anything else?
No, man, it's been an awesome show, man.
No,
Brian,
good.
thanks for coming back, man.
I appreciate you guys having me back. Appreciate it for sure. Anything else I can answer, just let me know. Not tonight, obviously. We're about our max, but I appreciate you guys having me back. Definitely want to answer any questions I can. I know we have a set questions, and then we usually go off on tangents.
We don't get to them. No, we don't get to them at all. But it's okay. It's
We
okay.
did better tonight. We did better tonight.
We did better tonight.
Yeah,
we did.
We did better.
Yeah.
If you want to get your credit score increased, keep utilization down. There you go. There's a normal credit response answer.
And, Danielle says she wants to a show, I guess about composing letters. She wants to know where to start.
Oh,
with her
that's,
letters.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. You don't see that too often. Very good question.
Yeah, so we can definitely do something like that. We appreciate you too, Aaron, for coming through for sure.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you everybody that showed up. If you need me, I'm Credit Union Captain on IG. Appreciate you fellas for having me on again. And then let's get back into it for sure. Let's do this more often because I think people are really missing out on information for sure. That's my struggle. That's why I was so bothered by the Wells Fargo thing, man, because it's like you can make so much more money versus this class action lawsuit. Just know you're right.
Well, it's been another episode of the Profit Desk. We appreciate everybody for coming through, and we'll see you guys again next week. Peace.
Hey.